of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting a good fight in Ukraine, and those suffering from military conflict in the Middle East. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Walter, would you like to open up for the Board of Finance?
Call the Board of Finance back to order from the recess.
We'll call the Town Council back to order. Okay. Okay. Like to...
needed, but
Nope. All right, so we'll start with anyone from the public that would like to address the Council and Board of Finance. Mr. Bailey?
Joseph Bell, 17 Milford Lane, in Milford. It's taken a while to get me back out here. Many of you know me from the past, but this year you did it. 5% budget increase. Tax and spend, tax and spend, tax and spend. This organization wouldn't know how to cut a loaf of bread if I gave you a serrated knife. I am astounded, both with the Board of Ed and the Council, that we continue to raise our budget at these numbers. Do we need a new Milford Doge? I'll volunteer for that position. I missed this a little bit, but we can't sustain at this levels. What do we do with the folks who are on fixed income, who are hourly waged? Everybody says, well, they don't really pay taxes. They pay taxes because they pay their landlords whose taxes go up and their rents go up. And I'm not far off from a fixed income myself. I'm close to that number. How can we continue to do this? And I know cuts hurt, but it's time we figure out how to cut. And the cuts are going to hurt, but we need to do that in this town. We can't go up at these rates. And unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to go over to the Board of Ed when they were looking at this, and I may try and get back over the next few weeks of deliberation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not what New Milford is. I remember when I sat at this table, any budget that came in under 2%, the people would go for it. 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, a 5. I don't, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I mean, you want to bring me back and show you how I would cut the budget? Well, welcome to come back and give you some of my public advice. But please don't do this to this community. It is, I know the car taxes are a problem in this town, everything. We're going in the wrong direction. And what are we going to do? We're not Wilton, Greenwich, New Canaan, Ridgefield. This is New Milford. It's a blue-collar town still. Let's not push out those folks. We won't get she like the rest of them. So I wish you Godspeed in deliberation on this, and I hope I can come back and watch additional. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Have anyone else?
we don't have anybody else, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Next is going to be discussion of the Finance Department budget. Olga.
So if you're following the pages, so let's start with the finance office. Just to reintroduce our department and what we are tasked with. The finance department is responsible for the annual audit, compilation of financial statements, preparation of 5-year capital plan and annual budget, long-term and short-term debt issuance. We're also responsible for the day-to-day transactions and operations, such as tracking and recording revenues, processing accounts payable, purchasing procedures, and making actual purchases, payroll. We're also responsible for compliance with state and GASB requirements. We prepare the annual town report. We oversee our investments, and we perform treasury functions. We also do risk management, pension management, and overall, we maintain and manage over 30 town funds. All these responsibilities are handled by the team of 5 people. The head of the department is myself as the director of finance. Then we have controller, and it follows by the remaining team, which consists of purchasing specialist, accounts payable specialist, and payroll administrator. Being on the subject of the department structure, just want to let town council know that the current controller has resigned. So I wish her all the best, and I thank her for the few years of service for the town. This is really an opportunity for myself to actually take another look at the department and assess the needs of the department and of the town and what we do for the town. It is a great opportunity to do some restructuring, to align our department better with the direction the town is going to utilize all the software and all other amenities that we have at our disposal, and just to really materialize all possible efficiencies that may be realized. So it really is an opportunity, and I look forward to taking on that task. For the time being, we will be short-staffed, but I feel strong support from my staff and from my colleagues, so I don't anticipate any disruption in our service or our overall performance, and all the reporting and everything will be scheduled and will be done as projected and as planned. So it's just a bit of an internal challenge, but it should not really present any other outflow and should not be really felt by outside agencies that we work with. So that's the most important piece. But other than that, we have a strong team, long-term employees committed to the town and really excellent at what they do. So moving on to our actual budget discussion, and I guess traditionally, let's start with the revenues. So finance revenues that are shown in the budget binder really encompass all revenues that are not raised by fees, fines, or taxes. And there are a few categories of those. Generally, we break them down into, 5, I guess, main categories, as I did here. So the key point is that the fiscal year 26 projections are pretty much flat. They are on target with fiscal year 25 projection. The biggest chunk is state aid. We have received governor's proposed budget in time for Mayor's recommended budget. So these numbers in the current binder represent governor's proposed state budget. And for New Milford, state aid remains at the same level as for fiscal year 25. Moving on to the interest income is also a big piece of the town budget. My recommendation is to keep it relatively flat. I did enter a proposed increase of $20,000. If you recall from our prior meeting, I did mention that additional sources of funding that can earn interest income were identified, and we are bringing additional interest income. For the last 2 months, it was about $40,000. However, for the budget projection, I am being conservative due to the declining interest rates. So currently in the proposed budget, additional interest income is only $20,000 in anticipation of further reduction in interest rates. Other revenues are just miscellaneous items that come into the town, and that remains flat. No, I'm sorry, that's a small reduction. About $25,000, that's a SNAT tax payment that we received from Frontier. Unfortunately, their assets have depreciated, so we do anticipate a reduction in that payment from Frontier for fiscal year 26. And there's no change to tax relief or transfers in section in our budget. And do you have any questions? I'll take any questions when it comes to revenue.
Okay, we go to expenditures also?
So moving on to the department request for the expenditure side, we only have
For everybody?
to cover the total request for the department is a little over $500,000. It consists of 4 categories for the most part, 5. So personnel at about $468,000 for the team. We do have a small overtime budget sitting at $1,000 in case some anticipated events may take place. Material supply stays relatively flat. It's a little bit up due to the increased cost for our software That's a contractual obligation. And our GFOA and CCM membership fees remain flat going into fiscal year '26. So I can take any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Olga?
Works for me.
Just one question. Do you have any candidates for the controller position? We just started talking.
It's no candidate yet. The position will not be reposted immediately. As I mentioned, I do plan to take some time to actually assess what is actually going through that position and what would be the best way to address those tasks. So it really is an opportunity for me to be directly involved in what's coming through that chair. And then diving into those details, I'll be able to make a recommendation to possibly restructure the department.
Any other questions for Olga? Thank you, Olga.
Thank you.
Next is the legal budget. That's page 90. And you see the summary is the actual total is down $10,000. You'll see the breakouts. You had a reduction in the legal retainer from 70 to 40. And then you did have an increase from 20 to 40 of the legal personnel as we're going through negotiations starting next year.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Negotiations in legal, that's up 20.
Yeah, that was, right.
So we're going to be going into negotiations next
okay.
year. Police department, dispatch. Does anybody have any questions on legal? Alex and Mary Jane?
Who's first? Me? Okay. I see the reduction of the 30,000 in the retainer. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, that retainer was some of the money last year that Randy had mentioned for us to put aside for the Birch Henning case. We've settled for part of that.
Right.
We still have the other part. Kerma has picked up the legal fees for the attorney for that. So this here, the 40,000 is for any additional incidentals, mainly geared towards that case.
That's why I was asking. So
Yeah.
that's good. Okay, thank you.
Mary Jane?
Same, I had the
Okay.
same question.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Next we'll move to Mayor's office. We'll start with the revenue, which will be page 2. And as you'll see, first the passports. We do passports in the mayor's office, and part of the passports is we are allowed to take a fee for that. We've had a very, very robust business, so to speak, in the passport office. It's always been, the last couple of years, been above budget. So we've added another 7,000. So instead of it being 10,000, we're anticipating 17,000 in passport revenues. Then on the mayor's initiative, it's been at 1,000. We are looking at 13,000 for the initiative. That's been up a little each and every year, the initiative as well. And what is in the mayor's initiative line? Those are selling town merchandise that we do, whether it be hats, whether it be coats, those type of initiatives. So that's where we're going to get the 13,000 in additional revenue.
Setting up a retail shop?
We've done that. We've always been doing that. But
It's
now
just been a big jump
Yep.
from last.
I think you're going to see, well, when you look at the revenues as actuals, it's actually more than $1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to make it more where it is more in line with the revenue that we will be getting for that. So that's why we did the 13,000. Does anybody have any questions on the revenue? Next, we'll go to the expenditures, and that will be on page 51. And then 52 has the breakout. As you will see, the department itself on a whole, personnel-wise, is up $34,850. The stipends is up $6,500, and then tourism is down $24,000. So when you flip over the next page to the personnel lines, you will see there would be an addition, and this will be half and half. So you'll see what's in there is for a community information administrator for $26,000. So it'll be working part-time mayor's office in economic development. What this person will do is the town websites that we have, the economic development website, the Milford Now website, would be working on making sure that these continue to provide the information and take on working these websites. Also doing community stories, community analysis, all in giving our townspeople and those that are going to be shopping and dining and wanting to invest here the pertinent information to do so. In so paying for this position, it would be almost revenue neutral or expense neutral. As you can see the reduction in the tourism line from 34,000 down to 10, and you'll see the reduction line in economic development as well. And this will be a person boots on the ground to take care of that stuff. You'll see the increases contractually for the union people, and then for non-union would be the 2.5% increase. And then materials and supplies is the same, expense account is the same. Anybody have any questions on the budget? Okay. All right, next is the Board of Finance budget. Walter. Page 61.
61. Essentially, the budget is unchanged. The main portion of the budget is for personnel, for secretarial help, and a small amount for supplies. And hasn't changed in a number of years.
Does anybody have any questions for Walter?
Boy, are we good guys.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that, Walter.
Okay. And for tonight, is there any other questions?
You want to do town council?
Oh, town, sorry.
Town
Thank
council
you.
budget.
Thank you, I'm sorry. That is page 49. Sorry about that. And as you see, it's down about $500. The consultant line's down $500, and then legal notices, because of the increase with Hertz Media, is higher by $500. So it's gone from 42,000 down to 41,500. Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. That was it. Do we have a motion to recess till tomorrow night?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. And we'll be recessing till tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Thank you.
Just a reminder to the Board of Finance, we have a special meeting at 6:30 tomorrow evening.
We're at 7.
7.